If you're looking to get the absolute best performance from your laptop GPU, you've clicked on the right video, because in today's video, I'm going to show you how to optimize the shit out of it. But before we get started, I have to say, this is mainly for GTX cards. I don't have a RTX card in my system, so yeah, it makes sense that I can't really make an optimization video for RTX cards. And then second of all, I mainly play open world, single player, third person games. So my optimization is going to be towards that. If you play online battle royale games, there's another YouTuber I highly recommend. He has his page, it's Alchemy Tweaks. So go hit his page, he's almost at 1,000 subscribers, go give him a sub. But he does a lot of work on latency and online games as such. But back to this video. So sit down, strap in, let's go. Right guys, to get us started, the first thing you're going to need to do is download a couple of files. In the description of this video, I'm going to put a link to my mega upload page, the Nvidia optimization folder. Just follow that link. I'll bring you to this page over here. Just go ahead and download these folders. If you have some of them already pre-installed, it's fine, you don't have to download it, but everything that you don't have, just download that. Once that's downloaded on your desktop, just create an Nvidia optimizations folder. Go to your downloads, just drag all those downloads into your Nvidia optimizations folder, and it should look like this. And then that's going to bring us to step number one. Right, for step number one, what you're going to do is just click on the link in the description of the video. It's going to take you to the Nvidia Drivers download page. And dependent on whether or not you have an RTX card or GTX card, I'm going to recommend two different drivers. For GTX users, I'm going to recommend 528.02. And the reason is all the drivers have pretty much the same average FPS in total, but 528.02 has the best 1% lows if you're using a GTX card. So what you can do is just go to beta and older drivers, and then just put in all your details there. But then over here, instead of all, you're just going to go to recommended certified search, and then you can just look up 528.02, that one over there. If you are on an RTX card, I recommend you just download the latest driver. From what I've seen on YouTube, 531.61 is pretty solid if you got an RTX card. That is step number one. Right, for step number two, we're going to be installing the downloaded driver in the correct way. Guys, if you do not use GeForce Experience to record gameplay, you're literally just using it to update your driver and play games. I highly recommend when you install your driver, just install it without GeForce Experience. So if you're just going to be installing a straight driver, just go to apps over here and then just find Nvidia, and then uninstall Nvidia FrameView and uninstall Nvidia GeForce Experience. So that once you right click on your driver to install it, I can't do it now because it's going to stop my recording, but just right click on this, run as administrator, and select only the driver. You do not want to install GeForce Experience. And then in the next window, just instead of doing a quick installation, do a custom install, and then in the following window, just unselect HD audio and make sure that GeForce Experience is unselected. The only thing that you want to install is the driver as well as physics. Go ahead and install the driver. For those of you that insist on still using GeForce Experience, I need to use it because it's great for recording. In your app, these are the settings I recommend. So go to settings, and once you've installed your driver, if you're not recording gameplay, make sure the in-game overlay is off because it eats a little bit of FPS. Make sure battery boost is unselected, and then unselect GeForce driver update is available and unselect reward is available. And yeah, unselect automatically download driver updates and let me choose when to install. Because what you find is if you don't do these things, GeForce Experience automatically downloads a driver And when a driver downloads and installs, it resets all your settings. So you're going to find that when you're playing a game, you're going to be like, wow, why is my driver performing so badly, or my game performing so badly? It's because GeForce Experience automatically updates your drivers and your settings if you don't unselect these things. And then also in games and apps, just unselect automatically optimize newly added games and applications. And guys, that is going to bring us to the end of step number 2. Right guys, for step number 3, we're going to be optimizing the Nvidia control panel. So what you want to do is just right click the desktop, open up the Nvidia control panel, and then look, this is just my personal preference, but I do it. Just go to desktop, I enable developer settings, and then I don't like notifications in the tray icon, so this is the Nvidia icon over here, so I switched it off. But I mean, that's my personal preference, you don't have to do that. And then look, this might be a little bit placebo, but I do it in anyway. Manage GPU performance counters, I just allow access to the GPU performance counters to all users. And then the settings that actually matter, under adjust image settings, just go and select use my preference, make sure it's on performance and then hit apply. Manage 3D settings, just go ahead and select high performance Nvidia processor. You can leave all these here. Dynamic boost, if you have it available, make sure it's switched on. It's going to give you extra 5 to 10% performance. But then again, if your laptop does have dynamic boost available, I think it will be on by default. Low latency mode, just go ahead and select ultra. And then OpenGL GDR compatibility. I know most games, or just about any game, isn't in OpenGL anymore. And I had an argument with somebody about this. But guys, trust me, I did testing. You actually get like a couple of extra FPS by changing this from auto to preferred performance. And then OpenGL rendering GPU, just go ahead and select your GPU. Power management mode, prefer maximum performance. Shader cache size, most people set it to 10 or even unlimited. I find that on my computer in anyway, I get slightly better FPS and 1% lows on 1 gig. But feel free to use 10 or unlimited. And then texture filtering, anisotropic sample optimization, just make sure that's switched on. I made a mistake in a previous video. Texture filtering, negative load bias, just go ahead and leave it on allow. Clamp doesn't really do anything unless you pair it with 16 times anisotropic filtering here, and that really just kills performance. So apologies guys, mistake in a previous video. So just leave texture filtering negative load bias on allow. Texture filtering quality, it's normally set to quality, but set it to a high performance. I'm sure most of you use that setting, but guys, it does give you extra 1 or 2 FPS, so why not? Texture filtering tri-linear optimization, make sure it's switched on. Make sure threaded optimization's on, and yeah, the rest you can just leave. Set physics configuration, just go ahead and select your graphics card. And will you guess it? We are done with step number 3. Step number 4, we're finally going to use something that you downloaded from my Google Drive or Mega Upload page. Go to the Nvidia optimization folder, and then MSI mode, just go ahead and right click it, run as administrator. And then Nvidia, just select your graphics card, make sure it's minus, because when it's minus it's set to MSI mode. By default Nvidia should put your graphics card into MSI mode, but just double check. And then lastly, I don't change anything here except for Intel UHD graphics, I put on high, and then my graphics card I put in high, and hit apply, close. Guys, I used to also do interrupt policy, but like I mentioned, I don't really play online games, so latency isn't really a problem for me, so I don't use interrupt policy anymore. Like I said, if online's your baby, go watch Alchemy Tweaks, go subscribe, do it now. Right, for step number 5, just go back to the Nvidia optimization folder. Go to Nvidia Profile Inspector. You don't need to install it. You can just right click it, run as administrator. And then guys, there's a lot of stuff you can change in here, but the only thing that really affects your FPS, especially not so much your average FPS, but your 1% lows, it really lifts your 1% lows quite a bit. And I actually did a video on this. You can have a look at that. I'll link it in the description. But go to Nvidia predefined answer usage. Just go ahead and just, so look at, it's normally set to answer allow allowed. Just go ahead and set it to answer allowed disallowed. Hit apply, exit. So guys, and don't worry, I use GeForce Experience for recording. Disallowing answer is not going to bust your GeForce Experience. But guys, to be quite honest, in Nvidia Profile Inspector, that's the only thing that really affects performance. And that is step number 5. Right, that brings us to step number 6. So go to your Nvidia optimization folder on your desktop. Just run GPU-Z as administrator. Install it to your hard drive. And then once it's installed, just go ahead and open it up. I've got it neatly stored in my own little personalized folder here. So just open up GPU-Z. And then the first thing you want to do is going to have your integrated graphics selected by default. Just go ahead and select your Nvidia or your AMD GPU. And then it's going to give you all the facts and figures here. The first thing you want to do is where it says bus interface and this question mark, just click on the question mark. Run the render test for about a minute. Because if your graphics card isn't set into its maximum PCI lanes, doing this render test is going to push it up into its maximum PCI lanes and could potentially give you extra performance. But more often than not, it's probably going to be set to the highest. But the real reason we're using GPU-Z is because where it says default clock here, this is what your graphics card runs by default. In the next step, we're going to be turbo overclocking your graphics card and set it to always run at the turbo clock, and then doing an undervolt as well, so you're getting more performance at low temperatures. So just take note of your default clock and your boost clock, because we're going to be using your boost clock in the next step. And guys, that brings us to the end of step number 6. Yay! Right guys, that brings us to step number 7, which potentially could be the longest one, so I'm going to breeze through it. It's Msi Afterburner. Just go to your Nvidia optimization folder on the desktop. Most of you probably already have this installed and set up. For those of you that don't, just go ahead and extract Msi Afterburner, install it. Once you install Msi Afterburner and once it's complete, it will give you a prompt to install River Tuner Statistics as well. You want to do that, and I'll show you why. Let me just pause here. So MSI captures all the numbers, but without River Tuner Statistics in game, you're not going to be able to display it on your screen. So the one begets the other. So finish installing Msi Afterburner, then install River Tuner Statistics. And then once that's installed, Msi Afterburner will open up. I'll go into undervolting now. But first what we're going to do is we're going to go to the settings card, click there, and then just make sure it's start with Windows and start minimize. And then the settings that you need to put in here, these will all be selected. Just go and tick unlock voltage control, unlock voltage monitoring, and force constant voltage. And then check for available product updates, just change it to never, and then hit apply. In monitoring, guys, this is normally a mess the first time you set it up, so you can pause the video and you can just look at my selection here if you want. If you like my setup, I'll show it to you now. But I've got GPU1 core, GPU1 usage, GPU1 temp, then I've got GPU1 memory clock, GPU1 memory usage, GPU1 power, CPU power, and then followed by CPU clock, CPU usage, CPU temperature, RAM, frame time average, frame time 1% low, and frame time. So guys, what you're going to need to do is you're just going to have to rearrange this because it's going to be a bit of a mess initially. But once you got it in this order, just whatever you got selected, just make sure it says show on screen display, and then just go override group name. So if it's your graphics card, just rename it to your graphics card, and then do the same for clock, usage, and temperature. Because then what it does, what it does then is, okay, this is normally set to my graphics card, but I was recording a video, so I got a different number here. But it'll say GTX 1650M. So there's the clock, there's the usage, and there's the temperature, all nice in one line. And then for the memory clock, or the memory, the GPU memory, which I call, well, which is VRAM, you got the memory clock over here, and you got the memory usage, and then you got GPU power, CPU power, and then for my CPU, I've got it all nice and neat. It's under i5 10200H. So I've got the clock, the usage, and the temperature. So what you do is for my GPU, I just rename it to GTX 1650M, and then I rename GPU 1 usage the same, GPU 1 temperature the same, and then for VRAM, I just name it VRAM, GPU 1 memory clock and usage, and then I just for CPU, I rename it. I rename my CPU clock, CPU usage, and CPU temp to my CPU, so it's nice and neat. RAM usage, I just changed my amount of RAM and the RAM speed, and then I think that is pretty straightforward. Okay, now we get to the nitty gritty. So in Curve Editor, I'm going to breeze through this as well. So whatever your figures were in GPU Z for boost clock, what you want to do is you want to, so if your boost clock was, let's say 1800, so then you want to select 1800, and I suggest by default graphics cards are, I think, about 100 or 1000 millivolts. You want to try set it to between 825 and 900, because then you're going to get a nice reduction in temperature on your GPU. So let's say you're going to try out 825, so you're going to find the number corresponding with 825, which is this number over here, and then you're just going to drag it up to 1800, and then you're going to press Ctrl L. That will bring the yellow line up there, so then it sets it to that voltage and to that frequency, and then you close this off, you hit apply, you press save, you press 1, and then you lock it, and then you make sure that that you select this, so that when you start Windows, all those settings apply. And guys, what you want to do is you want to keep on doing that and keep on going lower and lower and lower with the voltage, so you're undervolting your graphics card at the maximum frequency it will run at. And then when you experience a crash, what you want to do is you just want to go back up 25 millivolts, and then just set that as your undervolt. So we overclocking it to the turbo boost frequency. For me, the maximum frequency I can get on my GPU is 1785, and the lowest voltage I can set where it doesn't crash in games is 850 millivolts. Sorry, I'm breezing through this, but this is a long section. Anyways, guys, if you do have more questions on this, hit me up in the comments, and I can actually even help you set it up over Discord. And that is the end of Msi Afterburner. Thank God. Step number 8 is a lot quicker. Go to the Nvidia optimization folder, and then the game DVR registry tweaks. You can run that as an administrator or merge it. Let me just show you what it is. Just basically disabling power throttling, network throttling, and improving system responsiveness. And it's just setting game scheduling. I'm not going to go into each detail, but it just helps with the performance of the laptop or the GPU. And then also menu show delay, we're setting it to 0, so everything looks a lot snappier in Windows. So just go ahead and merge that, and that's the end of step number 8. Quick and simple. Guys, step number 9, don't worry, we're almost to the end. What you want to do is go to your Windows key, settings, gaming, Xbox game bar, make sure that's switched off, captures, nothing to do here. Game mode, make sure it's switched on. Go to graphics settings, hardware accelerator, GPU scheduling, make sure that's switched on. It's going to prompt you to restart your computer. Guys, In single player games especially, this does add a couple of extra FPS. And then in Windows 11, you're going to have a second option here. It's extra optimizations for, I think, windowed games. Just go ahead and switch it on. It does help performance quite a bit. And then you're going to add all your different gaming executables. Just go browse, add your gaming executable. So whichever games you add, just add them here. Once you've added all your games, just click on there, go options, put it to high performance. And then there is another thing that we're going to do for Game Bar, but I'll show you now. That's the end of step number 9. That brings us to step number 10. So you're going to go to your Nvidia optimization folder, just locate winaero tweaker, just extract it to your desktop, and then install it to your desktop. Once it's installed, just run the executable. I've got it saved over here. And guys, I've got a full winaero tweaker optimization video. I'll link it in the description. But for the purposes of this video, all we're going to do is locate two things in the context menu. So scroll down until you find context menu. And then here we go. Run with priority. Very cool. Just tick add run with priority. So now you just need to locate your game's executable, and then you can run it in low, below normal, normal, above normal, high, or real-time priority. Very cool. And then the next one is take ownership. Just tick add take ownership. We're done with an error tweaker. So just to show you what run with priority looks like. So here we go. Let's just find the executable for Spider-Man. So now I just right click there and I say run with priority, low, below normal, normal, above normal, high, real time. Very cool. Right, for the take ownership, go to your C drive, go to Windows, and then find System 32. So guys, what we're doing here is, even if you disable Game Bar, what happens is when you run any game, by default Gamebarpresencewrite is going to be running in the background, no matter even if you disable Game Bar. So what we're doing here is we are going to rename Gamebarpresencewrite so it doesn't start running in the background, which is pretty freaking cool, and you're going to save yourself some resources and maybe gain a couple of FPS. So sorry, let me just find it quickly. Game Bar. There we go. Gamebarpresencewrite. So I've already done it. But what you're going to do is you're just going to right click on it and you're going to say take ownership. And then it's going to go like that. Just press enter. And now, even though it's system locked, now you can rename it. So it's going to be Gamebarpresencewrite. Just rename it to Gamebarpresencewrite 123. Click off that, close this off. So now, but when next time you run a game, Gamebarpresencewrite will not automatically start running. So you're going to save a bit of RAM, CPU, and you might actually get some extra frames. Yay! And that's done with step number 10. Right, that brings us to the end of today's long damn ass video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comment section. If you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing, man? Now's the time to do so. Guys, I just recently hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you for commenting, liking, blah, 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 blah. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's people like you. Cheers.